Hello and a very good evening, one and all, to round 3 of our Assetto Corsa Championship here with JCW Mini World Tour, powered by Simhound, in partnership with Simhound, and powered and hosted via SimGrid. Good evening, my name's Aidan, bringing you all the action from the third round here at the very wonderful track of Sportsland Sugo. Tight, twisty turns with, I'd say, a good few high-speed corners as well. Should be plenty of challenge for our Mini Cooper drivers this evening as we go racing again for 3 15-minute sprint races, who will be taking up the challenge of our reverse grid race, especially with cars. Oh god, there's a car floating in the pit lane. That's random. I just got sidetracked by that wonderful intro. 3 15-minute races, 1 reverse grid, and Canada jam-packed full of fantastic circuits. The Sportsland Sugo this week, Goodwood Circuit follows next week. We go to tracks like Salisbury, Phillip Island, Sonoma Raceway, and Kuritba. And again, I butchered those words completely, probably. We're still going to have a wonderful time. Championship standings is overall. Dundaley leads the way with Alfie Beaver and Fraser in 3rd. Peters 4th, Hine 5th, Holman 6th, Ashhill 7th, Stephen Bain in 8th. Tied 8th with Zach Silver, however. Gets the higher 8th place with the better result. Paul O'Grady then holding P10 on their own. Also worth noting, success ballast, 50 kilograms for P1 all the way down to 5 kilograms for P10. Everyone else outside that top 10 is going to have a wonderful time, not having to worry about carrying around extra weight. In the pro standings, Beaver leads the way from Dundaley and Fraser. The gap of 6, 12 and 20 points respectively. You see Peters, Bain, Hine, Hill, Harkonnen, Taran and Goodwin, then Nishev, Toscano and Kanoji all occupying the 30 spots. Every driver getting a point on the board so far this season, which is wonderful to see. In the AMS, however, it is Zach Silver that leads the way. A bit more of a tighter gap between the AMS standings. Silver in 1st, Holm in 2nd, Andy Hearn, Adam Ely in sharing 3rd place, with Ben Myatt in 5th, O'Grady 6th, Bob 7th, McCardle 8th, Smits 9th, Cotty 10th, 11th from Mariano, and Wilkes in P12. And as always, on a Tuesday night, getting ahead of myself, so I had a bank holiday off. Tuesday night, as always, in the comms booth with me, it's the wonderful Scotty. Good evening to you.
Good evening. It's great to be back after some hectic action last week at Falkenberg. We're here, bit of a longer circuit this time at Sugo, but should still be as action-packed. A little bit more space for racing, so hopefully we'll see some great racing. But first, of course, it is time for qualifying. Drivers have completed their out laps, or are still finishing off, and are on their first flying laps. Ashhill leads the way, so let's jump on board with Ashhill. Let's go into the passenger seat, around already halfway around the lap, coming towards the final sector already.
Indeed he is, and quite a short lap actually compared to what we've had previously. In terms of speed, they're going to go a bit more faster around here because of the higher speed corners, so hopefully you'll be able to keep up some momentum as they go through a sweeping right-hander as well. It seems like it never ends. It turns right, keeps on turning right, it turns right a little bit more, and then finally you see the exit and go, I can put my foot down now. But wait, there's more right turn. We'll go to the south and straight, go onto the Dunlop branded bridge, and this will be a first representative flying lap for Ashhill as he comes to the line. It's going to be a invalid lap at that, actually. Oh no, I stand corrected. Was that a 141.6? It is a valid lap, 141.1, but that is immediately beaten by Tim Bob, first man into the 140s, followed by Hearn for 2nd and Harkonnen for 3rd. So people are already finding grips with the circuit, finding time as we go along. We're still waiting for the other names to pop up on the radar, such as let's have a look. Fraser down on there as well. We've seen other names like Reece Tarrant being up there. Indeed, they are up there once more, only by 0.013 of a second from Tim Bob. Stevie Bainey gets up into 5th. Good midfield and front row fighter there from last week, and Sean McCardle also improving. New pole position for Goodwin, creeping close to the 139. So as soon as I say that, Karolsak gets there, and so does Dondolo by a significant margin, 0.6 of a second between first and second. and it's a little bit more tighter between the times as we go down to third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Friese completing a lap here. Laid on does not get provisional pole. It'll only be second despite having a purple middle sector. Let's go actually back on board with Friese, see how they can tackle this track, being a little bit longer gaps from what we've seen in practice, a little more spread out, as maybe a little bit deep there for Friese. Now through the chicane, some big sausage curbs are on the inside. Hitting them will put you up onto two wheels quite heavily, so gotta be careful of that. Through into the middle sector now, it's Johan Karlzak that's got the purple first sector, but Friese is faster than Dondelo's time. So yeah, everyone improving, as is the track conditions. We're up to about 99% from the track for this qualifying session, and it will continue to improve throughout the remaining 4.5 minutes and the 15-minute race coming up. Losing a bit of time in the middle sector for Friese as they're going through the left-handers. Starting to see a lot more times pop up the board, but now into the long right-hander that finishes this lap off. You've got to be very patient with the throttle, get your line right as you go over the bumps from the chicane, the alternate layout that we're not using tonight. Now it's up to the line, has fallen back from pole position. Karlzak taking the provisional pole, 18 thousandths ahead of Dondelo. How close can Friese get? They are going to be still nearly half a second off the top times. They're going to have time to find, but so far it is very close behind, especially for P5. Taran and Godwin tied to the 1,000th on lap time so far.
Oh boy, that's going to be a hard-fought battle for sure. We'll, oh god, yeah, very much so. To the 1,000th, exact same time. Taran getting that lap time in first before Bob. So, guessing. Sorry, I say that Goodwin. Taran getting in before Goodwin, should I say? So Taran gets P5 to set that faster time before Goodwin did. That might change, however. Not long to go on the qualifying clock. Just over 3 minutes to go. As times are improving, Hill gets up, and I believe Hind to set a new lap as well. We'll go to Alfie Bevan. He comes to the line. Is this going to be an improvement for Alfie? Don't think it was.
It's not an improvement in the end. All drivers coming up to the line. Let's see, can Adam Elaine not improving too much on this lap as they come up to the line. Let's see, Friese seems to be the only one really improving on this lap, and it could be a potential pole time this time around. Long right-hander using all of the track. A couple of cars in front, but a little too far in front to get any slipstream, which would be very useful with the long extended run to the start-finish line here. But crosses line and does take provisional pole, 24 thousandths in front of Johan. It is extremely close between our top three. Runs a little bit wide starting their next lap. Might have invalidated it, but we'll have to see how the lap unfolds. Everyone else about halfway through their next laps, and Johan going even quicker.
Indeed he is. It's nip and tuck. Actually managed to get down to 138. As so much as they've improved from the 140s they were doing on the outlap. So great performance from all. Karlzak just seems to have it. And Fraser, however, in the first sector, is going even quicker than his pole position time, 0.1 of a second up on his lap time. So currently what Karlzak is doing, 0.093 up, is not going to be enough. He's lost time in middle sector. Overall, still 0.092 up on Fraser's time. But behind behind Karlzak is Fraser going quicker.
Karlzak nearly 1,000th of a second slower through the middle sector than Friese's last lap. A car having issues on the outside of the final corner. I believe that was Lucas Smits, who's down in 19th at the moment. Friese's lost the time in the middle sector. It's disappeared. Can Karlzak put themselves on provisional pole? They do indeed. Up to the top then for Johan. Now the question is, can the others respond? It's one more flying lap for these drivers. We're going to go back to Godwin, who's coming up to the line, currently saying P10. They bump themselves up to P4, slowing themselves into best of the rest. And looks like that's where they're going to call their qualifying session. A couple of cars, Paulo Grady, race against the clock here, not to settle, not setting this lap time, but trying to complete this out lap that they're on. A lot of clean air, but only 15 seconds to get down this long start finish straight. The timing line is just before the braking zone for T1, and looks like O'Grady will just about start their final flying lap, which they'll need to. They're still yet to get a valid time. No, they have got valid time in, but yeah, it's only good enough for P20 at the moment. I'm sure they'll want to improve on that. Frieza was going quicker in the first sector, but backed out of the lap. Holman now has had a good opening couple of his sectors. Can they bump their way up to P4? They're looking good for it at the moment. We'll have to see how, if they can round it off through the final sector.
See if they can. Comes to the line, does Matt Holman. P4 for him, good improvement up to P4 for 139.2. Just shy of P3, so he'll be happy with that, I'm sure. We'll go down to Stephen Bain and see if he can improve. Not too far off improving on his current lap, only 0.7 of a second down. It would maybe see him up into the top 10, and indeed it is. P7, Stephen Bain.
Paulo Grady, it's showing as an out lap on the timing board, but we've seen him start the lap. It is a flying lap, so we'll watch the end of it here. Just the long right-hander to go. It's 2 personal best sectors so far. So where can Paulo Grady bump themselves up to? They need to find quite a bit of time here. Seems 42.4 is their current best lap. It's 41.5 is the next slowest on my timing screen. So quite a bit of time to find. But can Paulo Grady improve from 20th? He can, up to only 17th though. So we'll be quite far back on the grid. And I believe Zach Silver not improving. Yeah, it's a bit of a slow opening sector. So Zach Silver not improving this time by, but we'll still be able to finish off the lap for a final bit of practice before we get into this first of 3 15-minute races.
Indeed, absolutely. Grid now being formed. Only a couple of cars left. Actually, only 1 car left, which is Zach Silver. Poor first sector, improves on the second sector. This may bump his time up ever so slightly. He's going to come to his nose that he's going into pit lane. He's abandoned.
Yeah, ultimately too much time lost in the first sector. So, Johan Kralsak in attendance for their first round of the season takes pole position. But of course, a reminder for you, success ballast is a thing. Of course, having not been here for a round yet, Johan does not have any. The drivers they're flying with, Dondolo at the moment, 50 kilos. Frieza only has 40 kilos, but that is still a lot. Alfie Bevan with 45 kilos down in P8 for our top championship contenders, set to lose some points as things stand currently. But of course, there is going to be a second qualifying session a little after our first race. That will only be 5 minutes long. Less opportunities to get laps in. Well, more emphasis on getting a clean and quick lap in. And then, of course, we'll have 2 races. The second of which, a full reverse grid from the finishing results from race 1. So, it is all to play for, even with a bit of a poor qualifying session. We also had Peters and Harkonnen tied to the 1000th again on lap time. We had that moment earlier between Godwin and I can't remember was the other driver. It was in a tie earlier on in session. End of the session, Peters and Harkonnen 9th and 10th, 1.356 or 139.990 their times exactly. But Peters getting that lap time set earlier in the session to take P9 over P10. 21 drivers this evening, ready to go racing. I wonder how much chaos we're going to see this week.
Yes. We shall see indeed. I'm hoping not as much as last week. There's some good racing last week, but some notable incidents that were flagged by admin on the Discord, so hopefully we won't see a repeat of that. We do just briefly wait a few moments before we go into the first race, a little bit of an interval so the server can set up and put the cars on track so we can then go racing for the first quarter of an hour here at well, it's failing me, Sportsland Sugo. There we go. Got there in the end.
Yeah, drivers set on to the grid now. Let's have a little look, as we always do for the rear wing. Quite a compact grid from this angle. Will not make it easy, especially if anyone gets a per start. That could see some avoiding action needed. Hopefully drivers don't run into each other with sort of the limited space that there is on the starting grid here. But there is a bit of runoff into T1 should the drivers need to use it. Lights are about to come up, and they will set us off for our first race momentarily. Round 3 here of the JCW Mini World Tour. The lights are coming on now. Let's see. As we get a shot from the helicam, it's lights out and away we go. Good clean start from everyone. Holman looking to be a little bit per off on the second row, trying to dive their way back up into P4, but it's nearly 3 wide in the background as we follow the leader. Looks like a little bit of bumping in the background, and that is one car having issues. That's Gus Peters falling down the order, finding themselves on the grass, fighting their way through turn 3 now. Drivers up to the hairpin, still trying to sort each other out. 3 wide in the background. That's a little bit of bowling from one of the drivers. A couple of cars finding themselves off in the gravel. Big bounces over the curb between Peters and Andy Hearn. They'll sort out Andy Hearn again up into 14th place. But the drivers still fighting away. Jacob Hine up the inside of Tim Bob.
You jump on board with Hine. It's a cluster of cars here going through turn 6, if I'm looking at the map correctly. Turn 6, 7 on the back straight. They'll go down to the second sector now. A bit more flowing, a bit more space for these guys to figure out what they want to do. Side by side they go, and that's a car off in the background. There's multiple cars off in the background. That is not going to go down well with Adam Ely.
Adam Ely and Andy Hearn seemingly getting together. John Cunningham, bit of issues here, but fighting further up front. Alf Bevan, Stevie Bean fighting over P7. Stevie looking to the inside of the long final corner. Can he get the nose alongside? Struggling, but Alfie Bevan able to close the door wide there for Harkinen. Gets a rear wheel onto the grass and it slides on out. It's going to lose plenty of positions and ruin their momentum down start finish straight. Might drop to the back of the field with how costly that mistake is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. See if you can recover from that, but that is a mighty mistake as we see some midfield fighting here. That is Peters up the inside of Jacob Heim, is that? I do believe so. And that's moved done for now into turn 1. Bit of hip and shoulder, nothing too horrible. Gets a move done into the exit and gets going. There's a bit of a train of cars now. Everyone's diving into single file as they all now figure out where they want to be on circuit. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be following the leader for at least for a little while until the next battle erupts.
Matt Holman has had, after a bit of a poor getaway from start line, has got themselves up into top 3 ahead of Dondolo, and looks to be putting a little bit of pressure on Friese. Of course, a little reminder of the ballast. Matt Holman only 25 kilos, was originally sitting on 15 kilos, but after some post-race penalties gained a couple of places in championship, but is going to lose a lot. Mistake into turn 8 here at the end of the back straight, and it's going to be dropping down the order. That's Gus Peters off into the grass as well.
Well, that's commentator's class if you've ever seen it. Matt Holman dropping down from 3rd, just dipping a wheel on the grass. Rear end steps away from him and decides to then go build sandcastles in the kitty litter. There's tyre smoke in the background as well. Still people fighting away. And there's Gus Peters and Harkin in the background fighting away for positions 15 and 16. Lord Fraser in 5th.
Because he was in second.
Exactly.
Dondelo's now up to 2nd. Didn't make a mistake to drop down to P5. So good lap for Dondelo up to places. unfortunately for Frieza, but most notably Matt Holman dropping quite a few places, and he's now coming under pressure from Tim Bob, who's looking to the inside into T1. Can Matt Holman hold this round the outside, climb on the curb on the inside for Tim Bob? Won't be able to carry the momentum.
I think he's even lost momentum hitting that curb. That's odd thing to do. You can, track limits on a certain course are, enforced, but yeah, maybe doing it on that inside curve, not the best of ideas. They just lost momentum going into that corner. Ash Hill, however, still fighting off Mikado on the background. There's car off in the background as well, as you just see that onto the grass. I think that was potentially Tim Bob having a bit of a moment going wide onto the grass and getting out of the way. We still have a stick with this battle as Hill, onto the grass even a little bit to lose momentum. As will give Mikado a reason to have a go up the inside of the next right-hander. I think that's actually moved on before he even gets there.
Yeah, very long straight between turns 7 and 8. That mistake, Ash Hill, very costly with the long straight, drops him down to P9. Meanwhile, further back, Lucas Smith, Gus Peters are fighting. Harkonnen has had to return to the pits. It's going to drop down, but it looks like Sean McGardle has made a mistake, is off into the gravel at turn 10 and is dropping down the order, trying to recover, not getting in the way as Paulo Grady just sneaks by as they get to the final corner. But Sean trying to come back already, looking to the inside as Lucas Smith runs wide there into the gravel. He's going to drop a few positions, but it's going to be side by side between Paul Grady and Sean McGardle. Can Sean make up another place, having lost quite a few there with that recent mistake? Thinking about the inside here for T1. Didn't work out for Tim Bob. Not as much curb, a lot more space given by Paul Grady, running a little bit wide through turn 2 now, and yeah, it's just a little too far around the outside for Paul Grady. They'll have to slot back into line. Meanwhile, further up, Frieza's got up in front of Godwin for P4 and is now going to be trying to chase down Rhys Tarrant for the final podium position, but still some very close battles further back. Gus Peters trying to close up on Zach Silver.
Indeed he is. Gus getting, when did Gus qualify? I think he qualified a few places back, so this is a good drive for him at the moment in that Union Jack liveried Mini Cooper. How very nostalgic and British. A Mini Cooper, a British, at least owned company, maybe not made car, but the very iconic livery on a very iconic car. So quite interesting.
Into the grass over the curb as they try and find a way past Zach Silver. Let's just go on board with Gus Peters, see what they're trying to do to find a gap. We'll get the inputs to on screen for you as going through this long right-hander. Maybe get a sense of how strong the slipstream might be here. It is a long start-finish straight, not to mention uphill too. Coming out of the final corner, slipstream should be fairly powerful. It's come up crossing the line there, not going to be close enough, but we've got some battles further up. Matt Holman getting holding off in front of Tim Bob, and Jacob Hyde getting themselves in front of Ash Hill.
Yeah, very good move indeed. So making progress. Or Overstreet is showing us off circuit, I believe. That's P19. Oh, if he did have enough, it was very brief. He's kept going again. But P20, Cotty struggling, and 21st actually I think has already been lapped. We go back to Ash Hill now, however. A bit of Ash Hill train forming as we jump to them with about half of this first race to go. As we said before, a bit of an Ash Hill train forming with Hine behind and Holman not recovering. Matt Holman not too far behind either. Gus Peters, however, a closer battle, almost side by side going into this next right hand. It's going to be Gus Peters on the defence here as Zach Silver goes a little bit deep.
Gus trying to make the overtake right the outside, getting pretty brave. Zach Silver just running the car in as deep as Peters, trying to fend off for P12. So Peters' fire attempt, not able to make it work this time. And he's going to have to try a little bit later. Matt Holman right on the back of Jacob Hind, who's lost a few car lengths after being passed by Ash Hill earlier this lap. In slipstream now for Holman, closing up. Jacob going defensive, overtaking the slipstream, but Holman is not going to be close enough this time by, and a little further back, Paul Grady trying to get the place back on Andy Hearn, who sets personal best after passing O'Grady this lap. That's up to 15th place for Andy Hearn. That's just what we have a little moment. Take a look at how the race has progressed for all of our drivers. You can see further mixed. Matt Holman, one of our biggest losers, as well as Harkonnen, had to return to the pits. Jacob Pine having a good race, up 6 places, as well as Ash Hill up 4 places. Zach Silver too, making up 4 places. They are our biggest gainers.
That's absolutely fair. The great racing from Jacob Pine up in those 6 positions. It's unusual to see Lord Fraser down in 4th, especially after the last couple of weeks he's had. So that's going to be a bit of a recovery drive for this race, in the very least. But he's got 2 more opportunities to make moves and opportunities to get back positions as well. He's still got about 5 minutes left. However, he jumped down to Gus Peters following Zach Silver tries to make a move around the outside of the middle sector there. It's not going to work there. He's now under threat from Sean McCardle, as he's got front row seats to this battle very much, and Gus is going to have to be careful now. He wants to get past Zach, and Zach's making it very hard for him to do so. But I'm just thinking, how much can Peters pick up the pieces if it goes wrong?
Yeah, 3-way train now, and Frieza has come to the back of Terence. Going to be trying to make that move soon, but it's nearly 3 wide into T1. Holman getting past not just Jacob Hind, but Ash Hill as well, getting up into P8. Jacob Hind falling down to P10, Ash Hill P9. Tim Bob on the back trying to take advantage, but wasn't quite close enough to do so. So Holman recovering those places after that earlier mistake at turn 8, end of the back straight. Now has quite a bit of free air, nearly 6 seconds up to Stevie B to try and catch up to, with only 4 minutes remaining. That's going to be quite difficult, and Ash Hill isn't giving up this place just yet, is on the attack, and if they get a good exit here, we'll have the slipstream down to the line. Sean McGardle still trying to make trying to make a move on Zach Silver, who was passed by Gus Peters while we were looking at another battle, coming under some big pressure. Already having lost 1 position recently, he's going to try not to lose a second, as Tim Bob has a little bit of an off track. And don't worry about Andy Hearn, that's just a little bit of a timing glitch that will sort itself out.
Big moment for Zach on the cars. Gets a big snap on. Actually, Tim Bob finds himself off as well in sympathy. So losing positions now is Tim. But Gus Peters' hand. Oh, God, what's hand? Oh, hand's dropping down the order because he's tiny bit economy. As Tim Bob and Andy Hearn quite rightly now fighting for 50s and 60s. It's now reflecting true on the timing tower. Also aren't too far apart from each other. Hearn actually looking under threat more from the car behind him of Adam Ely. Up into first turn. Is Adam going to dart out the slipstream? He thinks about it. Stays put over for now.
First couple of corners go fight on up ahead. Elfie Bevan coming under pressure from Stevie B for P6. Stevie trying to close in. Set personal best lap last time round, over 4 tenths quicker than Bevan, but will it be enough to try and get the move done for P6? These two were quite close last week at Falkenberg. Had a little moment between these two, and it seems like finding themselves on track again, having qualified next to each other on the grid. Things maybe getting a little hotter, maybe staying a little bit tamer than they were last week. But if they find themselves much more, Matt Holman could maybe close up. He's already gained a second since he got himself up to P8. Will that gap continue to close though? Just have to keep an eye on it. We're going to head back to Sean McGardle though, who is still on the back of Zach Silver, trying to get themselves up to P12 while defending from Paul O'Grady at the same time.
Yeah, Paulie really got a little bit mugged there, didn't he? He was originally trying to get past Zach Silver and Sean McCardle capitalised, and has got the position out of Paul O'Grady. But however, Paul O'Grady looks to have a run through the final turn, or jump on board, tucks into a situation, a little bit of a nudge there, a bit of a bump draft going on, and that's actually given Sean McCardle a bit of a boost. It looked like Paul O'Grady did initially have a run as he goes on to the brakes in the first turn. It's a double right-hander, so outside line's not going to help him here. He needs to hang it around the outside for turn 3. He's given it a good go, still around the outside, and the next time will be turn 3 for a left-hander. Would he have the move done? No, he won't.
Had to back out of it, but was a good attempt around the outside. Love seeing people try those sorts of moves. They're not too usual, so it's nice seeing people sort of step out, take a little bit of a risk. But unfortunately, it's not worked out for Paul O'Grady this time, and is bringing Tim Bob up to them, who is closing in and running wide for Paul O'Grady.
Oh, has a moment.
Trying to get back to the racing line, and just about does. Luckily, the distance between turn 6 and 7 quite short, so it means that they're able to just come on in time. Meanwhile, in front, Johan Kralzak coming up the start-finish line. Big sideways.
Oh, no.
Missing their braking point. Paul O'Grady straight into the door of Sean McCardle, into the gravel. Tim Bob follows them in, as well as Johan starts the final lap at the front of the field. Disaster here on the penultimate lap.
That's what I go under to review. I do think some questions there, maybe just getting the braking completely wrong, sending it up the inside and not doing very well at that. He makes contact with other cars, takes out a couple of cars actually. I'm not sure if a car behind him actually went off in sympathy of his own accord, but yeah, move not done there for Paul O'Grady, and that's going to raise some eyebrows.
Yes. Over straight.
Oh.
Losing the rear end, coming into the final corner, and drops to 19th. Only a couple of cars, Scotty and Harkonnen, who have had difficult races, still behind, both of whom have been lapped. As we are on the last lap, we're going to ride on board with Stevie Bain, who's still right behind Alfie Bevan, still putting the pressure on. Of course, Stevie much less ballast than Alfie. Here's 45. Stevie only has 15. That's a 30 kilo advantage for Stevie Bain. But is it enough? Is it enough to let him try and have a go for P6 in the slipstream? Seems like Alfie Bevan pulling away a slight bit. Actually, we're going to look further back as Matt Holman is losing out to P8 to Ash Hill, who's been able to stay on the rear bumper and has now on the final lap tried to make a point, and looks like it will be P8 for Ash Hill. Still final sector to go for him to try and hold on to that P8. But we're going to look up to the front as Johan Kralzak comes over the crest, weaves across line to win their first race of our JCW Mini World Tour. Dondolo will take second place, with Freisa dropping to third from an earlier mistake. Reese Tarn will take P4, Hev Godwin in 5th. Meanwhile, further back, Andy Hearn getting themselves past Zach Silver, who made a mistake, ran out wide, and Adam Ely is going to try and go round the outside here of the final corner, hanging it the long way round, right up to the grass. Can he carry enough momentum? No, has to slot back into line, but maybe a bit of slipstream up to the line. No, it probably won't work with Andy Hearn getting a bit of slipstream off of the lapped car in front. So Zach Silver just about holds on to 13th, 44 thousandths ahead of Adam Ely in the end. Well, there's a good action-packed race throughout. Much cleaner than what we've seen last week, but we're only first race in, 2 more to go.
And breathe. Hang stock for a minute. Kralzak wins by a considerable amount, but will be under threat for race 2, I'm sure. Our final race, I do believe, will be reverse grid based on race 2 results. We'll have one more qualifying session this evening. That will be follow this session, and we'll go for it's a 5-minute qualifying, essentially a one-shot quali for race 2, and then everything else will be based. The starting grid will be reversed for race 3.
Yep.
If I recall correctly.
Yes, you do indeed. But we do have a little bit of a break before we get into the second part. also worth noting, as you see, just before we flick over, track grip was optimum, full grip for the drivers at the end of this first race. There might be, let's say, a little rain shower might come and sweep that away before the next race. So we'll have to see how that grip fares when we get into sort of we'll have 5 minutes of warm up for the drivers just to reacclimatise themselves, get themselves back up to speed, and then yeah, we will have that second 5-minute qualifying session. Drivers will probably get 2 flying laps in, similar to what we've seen at Sydney Motorsports Park for a first round. But yeah, then not very many attempts, and we've seen a few mistakes from people throughout qualifying in the race so far. So, yeah, drivers have to make sure they try and avoid that in this upcoming qualifying session.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. It's not going to be long before we go racing again. We're just waiting for that next server to come up on our screens. That and Benderama, Ben Meyer in chat, not racing us this week, but very much saying that ballast has really hurt Alfie. It has absolutely hurt him. He's going to be wanting to get some positions back, but I'm not sure how much he'll be able to with that ballast going into this week. Darren Wilkes, ballast really hurts up that hill into the final turn. I think we can tell. We saw Zach Silver trying to fight his way around Adam Neely on that last lap, and bearing in mind that Zach has got more ballast than Adam, I do believe. You can see the effects of that as you go up into the start-finish straight.
Ballast not making things easy for the drivers to have some, but they have it because they have done well so far. We'll get a quick recap in a moment of drivers of ballast. But before we do, let's quickly go over that race 1 finishing order, please, Aidan.
Indeed, it's Karolzak on the front, finishing first, along with Dondler, but good 8 seconds behind. Gaining a position from Fraser's demise, dropping down 2 positions along Fraser. Taryn 4th, Goodwin 5th, Bevan 6th, Bain 7th, Hill 8th, Holman 9th, and Jacob High in your top 10, and go down to 11th. Gus Peters, Andy Hannon 12th, Silver 13th, Adam Ely 14th, Tim Bob 15th, Ricardo 16th, Smith 17th, O'Grady 18th, Overstreet 19th, Cotty 20th, and Harkonnen 21st, with 19th through to 21st, ending up a lap down.
Yes, yeah, our biggest loser there, Harkonnen, had to return to the pits halfway through. Holman with that mistake at the end of the back straight. Tim Bob too, losing 4 places, had a difficult race there, a couple of mistakes. Biggest gainers was Ash Hill up 4 places, Jacob Hine up 5, as well as Adam Ely up 5 as well. But yeah, gonna be interesting to see, can Harkonnen turn things around after that first race? Can Alfie Bevan maybe find a little bit of pace to get them a bit further up the grid? And yeah, can Matt Holman put themselves sort of best of the rest again from our top 3? They've proven to be the strongest. Johan, Dondolo and Fraser leading the way. And yeah, Matt Holman just singing as well about the ballast being such a killer up the hill. Yeah, certainly making things difficult. But yeah, that is the penalty for let's just say doing too well in the opening races so far.
Absolutely. Not that we want you to back off and sandbag. That's what we were saying, but it's definitely a bit of a kick in the gut. Let's say missing your breaking point on lap 1. Yeah. Now, as we'll go to the next session, just having a bit of a warm up before we go to qualifying. You can see cars on circuit. What a camera view! That's turn 1, 2 going into 3, 4, 5, 6, and up into 7. You can see the hill and the height difference going up the hill into the second sector between these cars, and with the ones with the ballast are going to struggle to pull the car up the hill, especially going up into this middle sector and also into the final turn as well.
Yeah, quite a bit of elevation round here. Got that sort of lovely downhill down the back straight, but of course if you're going downhill you must go back uphill, and you certainly see that sort of here between turns 5 and 6. Funny enough, I've just noticed on at least the track map I have, that chicane is just turn 5. It's not 2 turns, it's just labelled as 1, confusingly. Maybe one day track maps will have consistent corner numbers that make sense. But yeah, today is not that day, unfortunately, at least here at Sportsland Sugo.
No, exactly. We shall see how we get on with the second race. And just a reminder, it is going to be qualifying for this race too, but then the final grid will be set for race 3 based on the finishing results for race 2. It's full, completely full reverse grid.
Indeed, so whoever wins this upcoming race, they'll have to pass 20 cars if they want to win the second. It was quite a struggle last time out at Falkenberg. Sportsland Sugo going to be a little bit easier to make those passes, or will we see another struggle to fight through the field? Of course, well, potentially having that ballast. If it's Johan, they won't, but Donlo and Friese, who've also been doing well, they are going to have to contend with that ballast, which might make it a little bit difficult. Yeah, Ben said, last week was the first time we had the success ballast. It wasn't a thing in round 1, so that made it not as difficult at Sydney Sports Park as it was last time. But yes, we shall be seeing the end of our warm-up fairly soon. Just before our qualifying session begins, let's just remind you what the championship standings were coming into this round. This is before the first race that you just saw moments ago. Donlo leading the way ahead of Alfie Bevan, 2 points separating the two. Friese down in 18 points back, struggling a little bit in comparison. Then we've Gus Peters ahead of Jacob Hine, Matt Holman in P6 after their first race back. Ash Hill, Steve Bain and Zach Silver tied for a P8 on 111 points. Paul Grady bang on 100 points, rounds out the top 10 and has the last bit of success ballast. It is also worth noting there is a dropped round this season, so the driver's worst scoring round, that includes all 3 races within one event at a single track. They will drop that score, and SimGrid does this lovely thing now that we've had two rounds. It's already applying a drop round, so essentially the standings you're seeing is everyone's best round result, or score, shall we say. So that's why Matt Holman is up there in P6 despite having only done 1 round. Effectively, everyone else has dropped a score. Matt Holman doesn't have a score to drop, so he just has his full points from last week. And whatever round the drivers did better in is making up their full score. But yeah, that will of course evolve as we go throughout the season. Drivers have more bad races, if they have a worse result, they'll drop that instead. If they continue having good results, then those will just add to their points. It shouldn't be too long. We're just waiting for the overtime of warm-up and a little bit of a session pre-session time before we get into qualifying. We'll also just have a quick look at the class standings while we wait. Things definitely a little bit closer within the AM standings than the pro standings, but yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how those evolve after this second week. And yes, qualifying will be getting started in a minute and a half.
Indeed it will. So reset everything, see who does what, and then only difference this time is that people will have less opportunity to set a lap with it being such a shorter qualifying session. So only maybe 1 or 2 laps potentially they'll be able to set, not like they had isn't like they had it's not like having 10 minutes as they had last time out. So something to bear in mind as they all go to the circuit to set their flying lap. They're going to be very limited on what they can put on the timing board.
Yep, indeed, and they'll have to adjust to the new track grip. We'll see when the session gets started what that grip is exactly, but will be a bit lower than what the drivers had for the first race. That's why they've been out there getting warmed up, putting a bit of rubber back down on the track, trying to help grip up, track grip up again for the 2 races to come, where the track will just continually evolve. But yes, just waiting patiently, and any moment now our drivers will be underway.
Absolutely won't be long now before we see those JCW minis come out to circuit, and they should pop around our on track on that turn 1 ever so very shortly. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see if this does shake up the order in any form of way. Just see what happens. Those I can see cars, and there they are, joining the circuit for qualifying.
I can also see them having a crash.
Well, not the best way to start qualifying.
No, that wasn't indeed. When it's a short session, this is the last thing people need. This could be the difference on. This could cost them all a flying lap. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, the drivers now have made their way out at the front of the field. It is Zach Silver up front ahead of Ash Hill. I wonder if Ash Hill's going to be a little bit annoyed not being first car out this time. It can always be a little bit frustrating if you're the quicker driver, but you have to back up to make your gap, and not knowing if the driver in front of you, if they eventually then maybe make a mistake and fall back towards you anyway, it can be a little bit frustrating. But those are the rules. The drivers have to create their own gap. Ash Hill dropping back a little bit now as they come through the final corner. And let's start our second qualifying session with a lap on board following Zach Silver.
And down into turn 1 he goes, foot hard to the floor, hitting just over 200 kilometers an hour. They slam on the brakes into turn 1, carries a good amount of momentum through, about 90 kilometers an hour, and holds that going through turn 2 as well. Collects a bit of grass on the inside, gets over to the right for turn 3. Car turns in, a bit of understeer there, you can see him turning on the wheel, and the car not actually turning into the corner. Potentially getting under power a little bit too soon with these front wheel drive cars, having all the power from the engine going to the front 2 wheels, so they're doing 2 jobs at once, essentially, turning and accelerating. Goes up into the middle sector now, uphill with his ballast. That's might add, he does have some ballast, Zach, as he goes back downhill now through the second sector, and he'll go down this hill, but he'll only have to go back and climb it up again in the final turn. We'll get to that corner in a few moments time, but for now, hard on the throttle, exceeding 200 kilometers an hour with help from a bit with gravity assisted, going down that back straight, going downhill. He goes into this very stadium-like section. The grandstand's on the right. It's a double left-hander now, and it will then be the power back up the hill for the long right-hander. The final turn, which the drivers are moaning about with the ballast. If you have ballast, it hurts you this corner here. Initially a little bit downhill, but goes wide, and that's not going to do it.
That is a disaster for Zach Silver, because that's going to slow them right down, and they're going to be slow off this final corner, climbing up the hill to start their final flying lap. These drivers will only get 2 laps in. We'll go back to Ash Hill. First cross line, 140.9 is the benchmark. Meanwhile, in the middle of the pack, I'm going to try and pick someone out. Let's pick out Paul O'Grady. Oh, they're having issues onto the grass. Let's try and look a little further up. Reece Tarrant coming up to the line. Bit of slipstream. in this pack of cars seems to be quite tightly packed together. Hopefully they're not holding each other up. It's P5 for the moment. It's back to Lord Friese. Purple middle sector for them. Tim Bob has the fastest final sector so far. Will Friese? Yeah, Friese does take the quickest time and fastest final sector. Meanwhile, Ash Hill said fastest first sector, purple first sector, but they've returned to pits. So let's see. Let's go back to Zach Silver. Important lap for them here, having made that mistake on their previous lap. And they've got Otto Harkinen right behind them as well, getting held up.
Yeah, they do, so that's not going to help their cause in the slightest. All over the back of that car of Otto Harkinen, being maybe a little bit compromised. They go down into this final turn, a long uphill right-hander. This is hurting Zach. Checkered flag's going to wave. After checkered flag will wave as he comes to the finish line, so he won't be able to get another lap.
Some drivers have had issues further back in the lap, including Sean McArdle, but up to the line it's going to be P9 for Zach Silver, P2 for Harkinen. So despite being right behind Zach Silver, they still got a decent lap in. Let's see, Matt Holman coming up to the line now. Can they improve? They put themselves up to P2. Johan, let's go back to coming up to the line, trying to get a bit of slipstream. Tim Bob picks themselves up to P7. Up to the line, this pack of 3 cars. Johan goes to provisional pole, 800ths ahead of Friese. Paul O'Grady put themselves P7. Dondlo coming up to the line as Peters puts themselves into P5, and it's pole position for Dondlo right at the end.
That's a decent lap. 139.7 isn't as quick as the 138s we've seen in the previous qualifying, but for essentially what is a one-shot qualifying, that is a very good lap.
Yeah, and go remember that track grip, as you can see in the top right, 96%, much less than what we saw in the last 2 sessions, pardon me. But this time, even with the ballast, the 50 kilos of ballast, Dondolo has put themselves on pole position for race 2. This looks like, despite the 50 kilos, it's going to be a good point scoring week for Dondolo so far.
Yeah, he's going to be quite happy with that, I reckon. He needs the points to get up from that table. It's a bit of a devil's circle? No, it's a bit of a painful circle, really, because he wants to get higher up, and everyone does, but it's just going to put ballast in his car. Well, that's the way it is with racing like this. They'll get better and they'll race faster, and then suddenly they're going to go back downhill again because all the extra weight they suddenly have to carry. It keeps it interesting for us, however. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a kick in the teeth if he has a good result here.
Yeah, that pole time, by the way, for reference, a full second slower than Johan. Yeah. Unlike Alfie, who was hundredths slower between the 2 sessions, this time it's a full second, so the grip having a much bigger effect. I'm trying to look up and down to see who's done well, who's maybe struggled this session. One of the people, Godwin, qualified P5 for the first race, all the way down in 18th for this second race. Per qualifying for them, Stevie being another one, P7 for the first race, only 19th here. They're going to be very disappointed with that. Ashhill qualified 12th for the first race. We know they had a good race, got up a few positions, and they've shown that pace in the second qualifying in P8. Alfie Bevan up 1 position from P8 to P7. Trying to see who, if we've got some other big movers. Everyone else seems to be relatively similar. So they do. So yeah, a couple of big movers, mainly Godwin and Stevie Bain are sort of big losers. But yeah, as Fantaribo is saying in chat, traffic was quite difficult. We've seen on the track map, even for the cars we weren't following. that, yeah, the traffic, even with the longer lap, it was quite a bit busy here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always interesting to see, especially with shorter qualifying, everyone goes out at the same time, which is understandable. But even for a longer track like this, it does tend to make people, let's say, trip up one another inadvertently.
Yeah, I mean, we also had that sort of incident coming out of the pit exit that clogged everyone up. That certainly didn't seem to help. Though I noticed when the first car crossed the line, there was still about between 1:20 and 1:30 left on the clock. That's still a fair amount of time for everyone to spread out. You know, I think everyone could spread out 5 seconds apart, and they still would have all got across the line. So I feel like people maybe could have been a little bit more aware, could have given themselves a little bit more room, but a little late now for that. Just something to maybe take note of and put a little more calculation into, let's say, to see if they can get themselves a little bit more space. But we're on board with Don DeLue, who is waiting on the grid. Little look back as usual at our grid. Still quite compact. Matt Holman, wonder if he can get a good start again. Wasn't the greatest launch offline, but did get themselves up to P3. This time they'll be trying to get past Friese. Hopefully not missing their turn 1 braking point this time.
As we now go to lights on the screen, Ollie Niles, Holman, Alien and Mini 2, who'd have thought? Let's see if you can do any better. Let's race for race 2. 3, 4, 5, 6 lights on the screen. As soon as they go out, we'll go racing. And we are away for race 2. P2 gets away well. Better than the pole sitter. Will have the inside line into turn 1. Karolzak looks to have dropped a position in the background. Holman challenging for third. Thinks better of it. It's going to get mugged around the outside potentially by Otto Harkonnen. That looks clean as we go through turn 2. It's Karolzak, Dondolo, Fraser, Holman, Harkonnen as it stands, going through the first couple of turns as Harkonnen's fighting away. Three-way battle between Beaver, Harkonnen and Peters. Harkonnen's dropping down the order sadly. He's lost some positions along with Alfie Beaver. That's Andy Hearn.
Still a lot of fighting through the mid-packs. They come out the opening sector. That's someone getting spun round. That's Rhys Tarrant spun round, as well as Ash Hill onto the grass, trying to find their way back. Let's have a little look further in front now. Go on board with Otto Harkonnen on the back of Paul O'Grady. Alfie Bevan has made a good start and is challenging Matt Holman for P4.
Indeed he is. Alfie fighting away. Holman's dropped to 6th now, but the car's just gone wide there. Peter's gone wide into that turn, so Holman gets to move back. But Alfie up a couple of positions now into 4th, and Holman sadly dropping to 5th. And he has got good pace in these minis, so he's going to be trying to get those back. But it looks like for now top 3 are breaking away.
Back incident further back. Tim Bob involved, as well as John Coddy. That slowed Andy Hearn to catch up after their earlier instant towards the start of the lap. But let's have a little look at Harkonnen. Let's go on board looking over the rear wing, as there's Bevan Trian following them at the moment. Difficult start. They were challenging for P4 off the start, but the rest of the opening lap has not gone too well. Looking further back, that's Zach Silver trying to look in up the inside of Jacob Hine, who subsequently runs a little bit wide. We also have Adam Ede and Sean McArdle fighting a bit. Sean getting themselves up to 13th place. But the drivers have got themselves into single file, but are still trying to make up some positions where and when they can.
Absolutely. Nice, clean, well, mostly clean battle, and to the lap, I think that was more of a racing. It's Zach Silver on his side, and rejoins the circuit in a bit of an uncontrollable manner. But dear Lord, never good to see a car on its side, but he does get going again. Going didn't boot him back to the pits. How in the world did he end up like that? I wonder if there was too much curb taken on that first chicane.
Did see contact with Jacob Hine, but yeah, car-to-car contact should be doing that, so have to imagine it was curb assisted, as Stevie being off into the gravel had a good start, was up into the top 10, having qualified down in 19th place. but all those positions are going to disappear again. It's back down to 15th place.
It's not going to go down well. That's going to hurt him in a big way.
And that's Paul Grady off wide into the gravel.
All going up, all finding the gravel now. That's interesting. Now the track is at 96%, so the grip is a little bit less compared to the last race. And even though it's only 40%, I do notice it on Assetto Corsa. They do lose grip quite easily. So we'll see what happens. But for now, it looks like people struggling with that less grip on the circuit.
Ashill and Godwin fighting side by side through T1. Ashill getting the better and is up to P12. Going to try and now chase down Adam Ely. Runs a little bit wide, showing how much they're pushing already despite just getting clean air. Meanwhile, Jacob Pine and Lucas Smits are finding themselves a little bit wide, and is now being passed by this entire train, and it comes together with Adam Ely and finds themselves into the gravel as well. Going to lose a heap more positions.
Indeed, Lucas Smits dropping down the order, so we'll go down to 50. So that's going to be a bit of a sore subject for him, but does turn that Mini Capo very briefly into a ride-on lawnmower and gets going once more, but immediately under threat from Reese Taran. However, Goodwin lurking, a bit of a cheeky move, maybe up into the inside of that middle sector there of the move trying to be made on Ash Hill, not working. Paul Grady now recovering to try and make up some positions right on the tail of that 11th place.
Yeah, Ash Hill again having a little bit of a train forming behind them. He's come through the final corner. Paul Grady now coming under pressure from a recovering Stevie B. Made a good start after a poor qualifying, but then made a mistake at turn 8, similar to what we've seen from Matt Holman. It seems, or there, don't know if there was contact this time that might have assisted Stevie, but towards turn 1, can Stevie make a move? No, not this time by. He's going to have to wait for another opportunity later on. 9.5 minutes remaining in this race, as we also have Matt Holman closing up to second place in the championship. Alfie Bevan trying to reclaim the 4th place they got in qualifying.
Absolutely, all making it work. It's just a matter of how well they can keep the cars on the circuit. I dare say this lesser grip of even though it's only a few percent, is hurting these guys. They're trying to make it work, but some people making mistakes, but those who are keeping on the circuit are reaping the rewards.
Really testing these drivers, right? You've had one race. It's not just right again. Everything's the same. It's right. You know, you've got to consider the lesser amount of grip, as Godwin missing the braking point, putting a wheel onto the grass, heavily off into the gravel, like we've seen with a couple of other drivers, and they will be the next victim to fall down the order. Crawling along the grass, they'll get back onto the track just in time to hold on to P16 with Chris Overstreet just about catching up, but not in time to make the place up and run, and has a spin there off of turn 10 and will jump back themselves.
Yeah, that's that braking zone for the back corner after the back straight is catching a fair few people out. I'm quite surprised at that, to be perfectly honest. That is rather interesting. It's not been one driver, it's been quite a few. So I do wonder if people are just getting caught out by the entrance there for whatever reason to that corner.
Just seems like people misplacing their car onto the grass a bit as well. Go like further up, Sean McGardle down the inside of Adam Ely at turn 4 here, into the chicane side by side, big on the curb, and they come together sideways onto the grass for both drivers, and they'll have to recover. Looks like Adam Ely facing the wrong way, having to go across the track to get turned round, losing quite a bit more than Sean. But yeah, difficult time for both of those drivers.
They need to be careful now. They need to just watch their positions. So they end up fighting, they'll end up losing positions. But at the same time, appreciate it's a race. But a part of me thinks, hold on a minute, if we're making contact with each other and going off into our own little incident, what's the point of racing side by side? Let's just try and calm it down and find the positions and find the time elsewhere. But we say that around the outside, there's a move being made by Ashell.
Stevie Bain back up to P10, trying to fight with Ashell now, who is not giving up easily here for P9, and Paul O'Grady trying to get into the action as well, as Lucas Smith just clipped the grass there. You see the car sliding around through the final corner. They hold on to using the front wheel drive to help them out, but we'll drop them off the back for this was a 4-car train, now sort of becoming a 3-car train with that little mistake, as Ashell still leads the way, but Stevie Bain seemingly the quicker of the two, but is having to find a way past both of them, kicking up a bit of gravel. Look to the inside for Stevie, isn't close enough, doesn't commit to the move as they continue to fight. Let's go on board with Stevie Bain and see where he looks to the inside. Very late move, contact between the two of them. They use the front wheel drive again to straighten the cars out, but Stevie going for an aggressive move there.
They're getting away with it, which is the thing. They keep on getting away with it, they'll keep on doing it, which is wonderful to see. A bit of healthy door banging racing here, but yeah, just not giving up the position, fighting with every position they can. Dive on the inside, that's a bit late on the brakes. That's not going to work for Stevie Bain.
Is off into the grass once again, not for the first time this race, and will lose positions again. Stevie has been known to find themselves in good places for reverse grid races, and has won multiple races taking advantage of them. Maybe this will be another one of those occasions. Currently sitting 13th out of 21 drivers, will be, I believe, P8 on the grid as things stand. Still over 4.5 minutes to go. Plenty can change this race. Let's have a little look up front. Frieza has been chasing down Dondolo for P2. These drivers saying very similar last time around. But yeah, Frieza trying to close in the gap. Closest battle though at the moment is Gus Peters closing in on Matt Holman.
Indeed, it's just a very quick shout out to Twitch. Thank you very much for the follow, N1ELSB. I just seen that pop up on the Twitch chat. Thank you very much for your support. Welcome to oNiD Community Racing, and welcome to this round 3 of the JCW Mini World Tour here at Sportsland Sugo. Be sure to get involved and join our Discord if you haven't done so already. Go back to the racing, however. Gus Peters looking to try and close in Matt Holman. Matt's holding P5 valiantly, as that's going to help Matt's cause to try and create a gap as Peters and Harkonnen, both P6 and 7, go off the circuit and lose some time. O'Grady, however, on the tail, Ashell, Lucas Smith and Reece Tarrant just fighting behind him. Lucas Smith still got the move done, actually.
Taking a lot of the inside curb there, jumping over it. Was very cool, looked very cool, at least coming into the camera shot, and has got themselves...
Look like just bunny hopping the curb.
Yeah, has got themselves up to P11. But Reece Tarrant isn't done yet. You're trying to use the slipstream to come back towards T1. Lucas Smith is going to defend the inside line, but can it be round outside for Tarrant? They've got their nose in front by the braking zone. They'll commit all over the inside curb. Way too much inside curb this time for the Lucas Smiths. Reece Tarrant will continue on in front. Stevie Bain is again going to try and recover a 12th position here. Using off the curb, defensive from Lucas Smith. Stevie Bain trying to find a way through once again.
A lot of curb again on 2 wheels to Stevie Bain, and I have a feeling that's what happened to Zach Silver early on in this race, getting up on 2 wheels through that curb. Going to go for the over-under. Stevie Bain inside line, her next right-hander. Lucas Smith's given space. They squeeze each other into the apex of the corner. think they're still side by side, almost 3 wide actually down the back straight away. Who's going to be the latest on the brakes? Please sort yourselves out before you get to turn in. Thank you very much. And Stevie Bain, I think, has to yield to Smits here, whether he's going to still remain on the outside. Nope, you can see he's going to tuck back here. Was that a little bit of a nudge to Stevie Bain to Lucas Smits? And Lucas Smits is off the circuit, but rejoins and is able to hold the position. Or does he? He does. He's off again.
Yeah, I think Stevie was maybe trying to hold back after the first tap wide to not take advantage from the contact. Then Lucas Smits ran wide a second time. Didn't see if there was more contact or whether maybe sort of unsettled from the first contact if Lucas Smits ran wide on their own accord the second time. So let us see a little further up. Paul O'Grady trying to put pressure on Ashhill for P9 here.
Absolutely making it interesting for this top 10 positions. O'Grady without ballast, I do believe. Fighting Sun does, or other way around, I can't quite recall. As flirting with the curbs is Ashhill. Indeed, Ashhill has got ballast. Actually, they've both got ballast, but Paul O'Grady significantly less, 15 kilograms difference. So he will be feeling that in the car, and Ashhill, I think, will be looking at his wingman thinking, oh, I'm a heavier car than him, that's not going to go down well. I'm not too excited for his prospect of fighting him, especially down this back straight. And when he gets back uphill again, it's going to be difficult for Hill to potentially stay ahead if Paul O'Grady can stay within under his rear wing.
Paul O'Grady putting the pressure on. Switch here, Godwin trying to get past Lucas Smits for 14th place and looks to have got the move done. And Johan crosses the start-finish line, 2 seconds on the clock to start another final lap as Friese has managed to get past Dondolo here, but they're now fighting side by side through turn 2. Dondolo has got back through for P2, and is that another issue for Stevie being wide in the final corner, and he's dropping places for the 3rd time this race.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I'll have to be a little bit careful now, as that's not the first time he's dropped places because of a mistake. We'll go back to the P2 battle as Karolzak's led the way, blown completely clear of this second and third place battle. 7 seconds is the gap, and we'll just see if Razor can go back up into second. Remember, folks, race finishing positions from this race determine the starting grid for our final race this evening of race 3. It is a full reverse grid. Look at the starting look at the finishing positions on your left and flip it on its head. Cotty at this moment in time will be on pole for race 3, and Karolzak will be starting in last position. However, this battle's not over yet. One more turn to go for second and third. We see P20 crawling on the start finish straight. They'll be waiting for P1 to go and lapping again, so he's got to do another lap. But Karolzak will see the checkered flag. It will be Dondolo and Fraser. Who's it going to be? I think Fraser's got a little bit of a run here on Dondolo. So he comes to start finish. Karolzak takes checkered flag, and P20, I think Tim Bob hanging back to take that checkered flag. Second and third, it's going to be side by side at the line. Who's it going to be? It's Fraser. Gets the move done on Dondolo on the line by 0.033 of a second. Not even a nose of these cars.
Must have been by a whisker. Paul O'Grady with a great slipstream run up to the line on Ashhill. Is it enough? No, just misses out 22 thousandths of a second as the rest of our drivers are going to come up across the line. Adam Uday had some issues towards the end, dropped back to 19th place, but I'll put them P3 on the grid for our next race coming up. As Ian said, flip the order as it is, and that will give you the starting grid for race 3 coming up soon. The track only at 97% grip at the end of this race. It'll continue to evolve into the second race coming up. But what can the drivers do? How much will they struggle to make up the positions that they the positions that they're losing from the reverse grid.
We shall find out in due course. A message from Fantibro in chat. Weird, Fraser's third in his game. We'll see what happens when the grid is set. We'll have our answer as they go to the race 3 grid. So if he's finishing third, it'll be P19 for Fraser. If he's in second, it'll be P20. So we'll see what happens.
Looking at our other timing screen, it is showing Sedia in second. I think that
Ooh.
0.033 you see next to Fraser is the gap between them to Sedia in front. So I think that's just a little timing error from our UI app. So yeah, that is subbed round Fraser, not quite getting the position in the end, but apparently too close to for the UI app to call.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. We shall keep an eye on that. And as I said, we'll have our answer. We know what our answer is, but we'll have our answer on the actual finishing position as we go to race 3. Final quarter of an hour race for this JCW Mini World Tour on oNiD Racing. If you are the first time watching this either live or watching back on Twitch, be sure to join our Discord, discord.gg/oNiD Community Racing. It'd be a pleasure to see you. Come and say hi, come and pester us. Our season 3 is well underway within its first week, within its third week, should I say. And that our sign-ups are pretty full. But keep an eye out for social events, other things to get involved in. Come and be part of the action.
So, not long before we get going for our third race here. Remember, take the order you see on your left-hand side of the screen, flip it upside down on pole position. Or no, sorry, that is not the right order. Let me try and fix that. Well, probably by the time I fix it, we'll be going for the next race.
Yes.
But let's see, we can get it up for a moment. On pole position, it will be John Cuddy with Tim Bob alongside on the front row. Adam oNiD will roll off P3 with Chris Overstreet in P4. Zach Silver will take 5th place, ahead of Andy Arn in P6. Steve Bain from P7. Lucas Smith P8. Godwin in 9th, and Sean McGardle will round out the top 10 on the grid. Reece Tarrant will roll off P11 at the midway point. Have Paul Grady in 12th, Ash Hill from 13th, Jacob Hine 14th, Harkonnen in 15th, Gus Peters 16th, Matt Holman 17th, Alfie Bevan 18th. Then it'll be Fraser in 19th. Dondlu, our championship leader, in 20th, and Johan Karlzak, our back-to-back race winners so far for this evening, will be last and 21st on the grid. The drivers have lined up on the grid now, though I am just noticing a little discrepancy. Let me have a look. Let me just see. Trying to, because we can see this is meant to be our pole sitter Johan that we're on board with, but we can see there's a car alongside them. I'm not quite sure who it is, but we are getting ready here for the third and final race of the evening. Lights are coming on now. And it's lights out, away we go for our third and final race here. It looks like it's a clean start from everyone. It's nearly 3 wide towards the front of the field. Into turn 1 goes the pack. 3 wide in a couple of places. Into turn 2. That's one driver spun the wrong way. Driver's trying to filter out, and that's the leader. Nose first into the car. Out wide. That's Christian Overstreet. That's out wide. Lucas Smits is... Christian Overstreet, was facing the wrong way, and Lucas Smith was out onto the grass. The field still trying to slot in single file, some of them having to cut the chicane. Jacob Hine getting caught up with Alfie Bevan, having to cut across the curb. It's nearly 3 wide. Holman on the inside here. Heavy door bang with Jacob Hine as Alfie Bevan is out wide once again. Godwin facing the wrong way, finding Alfie Bevan. And the driver's still having issues. John Coddy slowing down onto the grasses. They're nearly 4 wide onto the back straight.
I don't want to look. This is some crazy racing. They are eventually figuring it all out. As a car moving up the inside, it's contact. As Gus Peace is getting tapped round. That is not what we want to see. A little bit of a late braking move there from someone. I couldn't quite work out who.
That's Lucas Smits.
That was Lucas Smits, completely missing the braking zone. That's not going to go down well, I am sure. But they all do continue nonetheless, as Reece Tarrant's going down the order as well.
Slow off of turn 10. See it in the background, but through the final corner now on our opening lap. Let's see Johan Kralzak up to P9. Fraser and Dondolo only 14th and 15th. They've had a bit more of a struggle. Tim Bob, though, leads the way as Stevie B and trying to get past Zach Silver for P3, gets it over under into turn 2. Good cutback, and it's podium place as Johan Kralzak trying to fend off Matt Holman here for P9, who's going on the attack.
Was a reasonably good move there, over under, gets the move work, but is now a bit of a train of cars. They all go down into the middle sector. There's a bit of a move to the inside by someone. They're not going to make it work into there as they still figure out where they want to go. So that curb is vicious going through that chicane. As you see, it's cars are breaking away. Holman leading a bit of train of cars here. P10. Oh, it's a car off. That's Smits.
Yeah, contact with trying to see, it says with Otto Harkonnen and Jacob Hine. Harkonnen was the one behind, so yeah, unfortunate for Lucas Smits. And they're going to have to try and claw back a bit of time. Adam Ely runs wide at the end of the back straight, drops a couple of places to P4. And Stevie B now up to second will be the driver trying to chase down Tim Bob for the lead. Drivers a little bit more spread out. Harknett trying to put pressure on Matt Holman, and Friese running out wide here, loses a couple of positions to Donlo Bevan and Gus Peters.
Oh, it's all kicking off, isn't it? We'll keep an eye on things as they progress, but cars fighting for position in this very last race, the last quarter of an hour race of Stephen, last opportunity to get points until next week. Still trying to figure out what in the world they want to do.
Bevan trying to make a move on Donlo, but Donlo defending further up. Paul Grady and Andy Hearn are fighting over P6. Andy Hearn, a little bit of a train behind him as we jump on board. We see a look to the inside. Johan trying to make a move on Sean McArdle. Are they going to be side by side into the chicane? Looks like Sean backs out of that one, sees the sort of issues people have had going side by side through there earlier on this evening, and decides, you know, what better of it, this guy's won both races so far this evening, maybe I can follow them through and make some places following them rather than fighting them. We also have a very close group behind Dondolo as Ash Hill is getting themselves in front of Adam Ely, or are they? Adam trying to come back on the outside of turn 8. Though it's going to be a too little long for the way round. He's going to have to slot back into line.
Indeed, you'll have to fight another day, as a good defence there from them to hold the position. We'll see what happens to Sean McArdle, however, still trying to make moves or progress up the field. As Holman dropping down positions.
Back at this pack. This is a fast pack of cars, but they're sort of all fighting each other, maybe a little bit too much. They're starting to open up a little bit now as they come down start finish straight. Gus Peters has been putting the pressure on Alfie Bevan as a little further up. Johan Kralzak trying to get the move done on Paul O'Grady inside of turn 2, and Alfie Bevan has had an issue into T1. Is into the gravel. We'll swap back to Paul O'Grady and Johan. Johan looking to the outside is going to try and hang it the long way round. O'Grady gives them the room, and it'll be up to P7 for Johan.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Freeze also
Right, he's not
losing a couple of place to restart there. Selfie Bevan still parked up, maybe with some issue of sorts.
Potentially, maybe some sort of technical failure or wheel failure is not moving from that turn one. Stephen Bain, however, around the outside. Is that going to be moved done? Zach Silver goes wide into that back straight corner, but Stephen Bain looking to get the move done around the outside. He's going to get a cut back from Tim Bob, however, up the inside of next left-hander. And then it's going to be side by side going up the final turn. Blocked slightly by the tree line. We'll see who emerges from it. It is going to be Stevie Bain up ahead of Tim Bob. Tim Bob may get a better run through the corner as he tucks into the slipstream under the Dunlop Bridge, and I think this will be a move into turn one.
Gaining with the slipstream, looks to the inside, which Stevie decides not to defend. Into the braking zone now. Will Stevie hang it round the outside? Is trying to do so. Is still there. Tim Bob bouncing over the inside curb. Leaves the space and they're still side by side. Stevie now on the inside. Tim Bob backs out as Ash Hill has got up to this battle. And Tim Bob diverts our attention from attacking Stevie for the lead to retake it and defending the P2 that they now hold. Looking a little further back, Jacob Hine in P12 is fighting. Now has Sedi Dondolo that has caught up to this pack and has dropped Peters and Fraser behind. But yeah, very close pack here as they continue to fight. Stevie Bain with a bad run through turn 7 onto this back straight. Jumps down to P3. Tim Bob retakes the lead, but is still under pressure from Ashhill, who is now going for the lead on the outside of turn 10. Late on the brakes, gets their nose in front and keeps it alongside. They'll be side by side now into turn 9. They leave each other space, but this is just allowing the pack, of course, to close up further behind. As we see, Tim Bob has held on for now, but as they come through the long right-hander, who can get the best run through here? Who can get the right line and carry the momentum up the hill? Use some slipstream to get in front. It looks like it's Stevie Bain that's going to have the best run here.
Quite possibly. It's now becoming a six-way battle for the leads. P7, 8, 9 and 10. And our own little battle a bit further behind this. 6.5 minutes to go. And we're still undecided who's actually going to come out of the race win or into the lead. It could be anyone's in that top 6 at the moment. As we see Asho up the inside, tries to make a move, and I think actually Stevie Bain was attacking, to be fair, so he's defending from Stevie, who then gets hung out to dry a little bit. It's now going to be under threat from Zach Silver.
Zach looking to the inside now. Stevie's a little bit wide, sends it in under braking, and will just squeeze Stevie on the outside. Good move there for P3 for Zach, but big jump over the curb might give Stevie a chance to come back here, maybe to the inside of turn 6. Yes, Stevie sends it on the brakes. Zach Silver slots back into line. A little bit of contact that might give Adamide a run, but he gets held up, and Johan Karlzak sends it up the inside, and running wide again is Stevie Bain there, as well as Zach Silver. And it's now going to be side by side between these two as they come down to turn 8.
Yes, indeed. They need to be a little bit careful. Bumping and pushing each other, a bit of door banging is acceptable, but actually pushing others off the circuit might not be a good thing. Stevie Bain's off.
Ran wide on his own accord in the hard fight, falls down to P7. He's going to be disappointed with that mistake. Has made quite a few so far today, and this pack of cars that has caught up to him, he cannot afford to make another mistake, or he will tumble positions for the 5th time this evening. We'll go back to the helicam in front. Johan Karlzak trying to go for P4 on Adam Ely. Looks like it'll be easy move done into T1, but a little bit further back. It's a little bit wide for Tim Bob in the top of Shaw. We'll try and look back. Jacob Hine trying to challenge Sean McArdle into T1, but it doesn't quite get the move done. This train of cars, how close are they? Is actually to the outside is, to the inside, Sean McArdle for P10. Matt Holman gets themselves past Paul O'Grady in front, and Sean McArdle up into P10 now. as they jump through the chicane, trying to avoid those sausage curbs. But Matt Holman getting in front of Paulo Grady allows Stevie Bain to open up a bit of a gap. But Johan now up into the podium position from the back of the grid this race. Meanwhile, the other podium sitters down in 12th and 13th.
Not been a great race for them. They'll be fighting through the midfield. As up ahead, you see Ash Hill trying to make a move on Tim Bob lead around the outside. That outside line doesn't really work all the time. There's a car off in the background. That's going to be a big off for Sean. That's Paul Grady actually. I stand corrected.
Trying to say no contact, but there's plenty of contact as these drivers are fighting side by side. Nudging is racing. They'd say these drivers certainly taking that term quite literally as they come through this corner. Dondolo and Fraser having finally got up to this back, running wide now. That's going to give them a per exit. Fraser trying to play inside Hartnett, trying to close up. Are they going to make it 3 wide this start finisher? Hartnett doesn't know which way to go, ends up giving a bump, pushes Dondolo down start finish line to try and help them defend from Fraser on the inside backside before the braking zone, then gets onto the grass and runs out wide anyway. But round the outside, looks like Dondolo is gonna hold on here, but Fraser's coming back with a better exit now, has the outside for turn 3, squeezes Dondolo to the apex, runs a little bit wide onto the gravel, and Dondolo's gonna come back inside into turn 4, but it's a little too deep for Fraser. That's gonna give Otto Hartnett a chance side by side through the chicane. Hartnett backside, and that's going to give Paulo Grady a chance. They look to the inside here at turn 6, but they decide against making a move. Meanwhile, Stevie Bain trying to fight back after that mistake on Adamile, who's dropped down to P6 now, is in the slipstream. Will he go for a move into turn 8?
Nowhere to look. This is fighting up and down the field as we've seen in previous races. Up the inside goes Adam Ely on Stevie Bain, and Bain's trying to hang it around the outside. They still not quite remain side by side. Bain moves, makes a move out of position to allow Adam to go forward up through the grid. However, Andy Hearn, is dropping and gifts the position to Ely, Bain and Holman respectively. Drops from 5th to 8th while running wide out of that penultimate turn.
Fight for second place. Ashhill trying to defend from Johan Karzak, but look at the momentum that Johan has. Will be easily passed before the braking zone. Ashhill didn't seem like they wanted to fight that one too much. This is now the final lap of the race. Can Tim Bob hold on for their maiden victory of the series, or will Johan Karzak go 3 out of 3 tonight? We'll watch over the rear wing of Tim Bob as they head through the first sector now. Only half a second back is Johan.
If Tim can hold this, he'll be dead chuffed. I hope he does, but Karzak looks to be charging.
Look, Johan trying to get a much better exit, which they do. Look at the speed that they have coming down this back straight now. Side by side, Tim is still leading the way of the AM drivers, but has a chance at overall victory here. There's on the inside, they're trying to fight off Johan, squeezing him to the outside, getting aggressive, and has held on for now. Not long to go, 2 corners through turn 10. It is just the long right-hander up to the start-finish line now. Can Johan get the slipstream run to make a 3-4-3, or is Tim Bob going to take overall victory as an AM driver? The pack fighting hard back, but we're going to follow the fight for the lead here.
I want Tim to get this. I'm biased. I don't give a damn. Go on, Tim!
Coming up to the line in the slipstream. It's not going to be enough. Tim Bob takes the win. AM driver, but overall win ahead, denying Johan. Johan will still take the pro win as it's neck and neck, dead even between Sean and Jacob Hine across the line. We missed the last lap battles, but what a fight.
I could not want that win to go to a better person. Tim is such a good lad when it comes to oNiD, and it's just amazing. Finally seeing get him a win in oNiD on AC. It's wonderful to see, and he's gonna be dead chuffed for that. He's gonna be talking about that all week.
That is going to give him great points in the overall championship. That does dictate our success ballast. So maybe Tim will end up with a few kilos. Little reminder of what we had today. Tim Bob didn't have any ballast this race, but he may do next week. What?
Good lad. Fantastic racing from all though. That battle between Kawasaki and Bob, outside line down to the back straight for Kawasaki. Was it enough? Tim politely showed him the grass, didn't force him off, but just gave him exactly a car's width onto the inside there. But yeah, that was brilliant. That was brilliant from everyone this week. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that.
Johan's saying that they would feel like the ultimate villain if they stole that away from Tim. At least Tim put up a heavy fight and wasn't making it easy. So yeah, at least you can say you had a good go at it while not winning out in the end. But yeah, crazy fight, and we missed so much of that final lap action following that lead battle. Yeah, I want to find a way if we can maybe have a look back at some of that, the other fights on the lead lap.
If only we could. But that was brilliant though. That lead fight, that's where the action was. It's where we had to watch. I appreciate there might have been battles up and down the grid elsewhere, but first win from what I can even remember. I think it is the first win flat out for Tim Bob for anything I've been commentating on or working on oNiD. So I may be wrong, but we'll say congratulations, Tim Bob. First race win here on oNiD Racing.
We are going to try and get a replay. As you see, it was apparently neck and neck between Sean McArdle and
if you can get it, that would be interesting to see. As it came to a line, it was 0.000 on our timing screen. It was just, it had to be exactly the same point they all went across the line. Tim Bob's in chat. What just happened? You won, mate. You bloody won.
Did indeed.
Oh, that was... I need to breathe. I just need to... Oh, that was so much fun. If we could get that replay, it'd be amazing. No issue if not, but... Oh. That was brilliant. Whilst we wait for the replay, final finish in the order, Tim Bob taking the win. Hard fought from Kawasaki in second. Couldn't make the move done on the final lap, and Tim Bob fought that well. We're actually going to go to the replay and see if we can get this side-by-side finish from the midfield. It's Jacob Hines who go onto the final lap. Here he is, going up into the long back straight.
Yes, this is Jacob Hine fighting with Sean McArdle in front. You can see this pack of cars still line astern on this final lap. I think that's Andy Hearn just in front of these two. Sean McArdle to the inside. Let's see if this is Andy Hearn. Trying to make out which one of the oNiD cars wider for Andy Hearn. That's where he starts to lose places, maybe a little bit of side-by-side contact, but they now are coming. Yeah,
oh, that's wide.
Yeah, that's Andy Hearn running wide, and High drops down to 15th. And this is the run to the line between Jacob Hine. Look at the momentum, closing. It's neck and neck.
Jesus
Christ. So close. Like, let's see. Let's wind that back, shall we? And try and let's try not to lose the moment. yeah, let's try and get a better angle.
Try and get on board with one of them. Yes, go for Jacob.
Let's get on board here. Coming up to the line. Coming up to the line. Neck
Absolutely
and
nothing.
neck. I keep pressing the wrong button. I'm gonna get annoyed at myself.
This is brilliant. It's just fantastic
Yeah, well,
racing. It's been fantastic this evening.
the best
Go
way.
free. Yes,
Yes, we
absolutely.
go to this free cam from here on board with the line. Here they come.
Slow it down. There's really nothing between them, is it? Absolutely nothing. Jepsy, yes, Tim Bob won, but we're just looking at this dead heat between Hine and McCardle for 8th and 9th. If they seriously cross the finish line exactly at the same moment, can't be, surely. Who's going to have it? It's nothing. Absolutely nothing between them.
Yeah, there they are.
Oh, dear Lord. And that's just after the line. That was, there's nothing. It was side by side. Absolutely just nothing. That is insane. That's one of those things you're never going to see for a very long while. And it just happened to happen right there and then.
Yeah, let's try and get the. I want to get the photo here.
Oh my word. Stop.
That will do. We'll go to the other side because it'll be the better photo.
Oh, brilliant. That's incredible.
Yeah, there they go. Let's take this away and screenshot.
Oh my word. And on that note, what a way to finish. Fantastic with a Tim Bob. Equal over the line, only just equal Sean McCardle and Jacob Hine. It just astounds me. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that is what great fighting in that final race. And yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's only the third round of the series.
Only the third round. We've got so much more to come with Goodwood Circuit. Oh, Goodwood. Oh, wow. What a circuit to have Mini Coopers going around. Goodwood circuit coming up next week on June 3rd. And you go to Salzburg Ring, Phillip Island, Solomon Raceway, and Kritba for round 8 on July 1st. And that will be season over. Next week will be halfway through season 3. How in the world have we got to that point already? 4 weeks of fantastic racing, and it's all going to be here on Twitch. And Scotty, I'm sure you'll be here next week to bring all the action alongside myself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if we got this fantastic racing here at Sugo, what are we going to get at Goodwood? Even a higher speed circuit, a shorter circuits will get more laps in. Oh boy, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we were maybe things got a little bit maybe a little close for comfort last week at Falkenberg, but our drivers have shown this week that yeah, the racing this season will still be of great quality throughout for our remaining 5 weeks. And yeah, I am very much looking forward to. And as a reminder, that's not all we have in season 3. Also, this season, continuing tomorrow, we have the Simhound Academy on the Mon Ultimate GT3 cars and LMP2 cars with drivers getting to grips, getting up to speed on the Mon Ultimate with a bit less experience. They'll be having a 50-minute race tomorrow. Then on Thursday, we have our British oNiD 4 Series on iRacing. This week is going to be at Snetterton, running the 200 layout round the outside, skipping the infield. It'll be a bit of a slipstream fest, perhaps. should produce some more great racing, some chaos too. If you've enjoyed it here in the minis, there's been plenty of that in the oNiD 4 series, so make sure to join us on Thursday for that. On Sunday, we have the 100 series on the Mon Ultimate, 100 minutes of racing. To give some strategy thoughts, some strategy questions that will come into play, give us some good racing. That will be at Le Mans this week without the chicanes. That long Mulsanne straight uninterrupted. The cars will certainly reach their top speed, so make sure to join us then to hear those rev limiters sing. And then on Monday, we have what will be the fourth round of the GT3 Festival, full field of GT3 cars fighting it out over 65 minutes. That next week will be at Portimao before we return again on Tuesday with the JCW Mini World Tour at Goodwood. Fantastic racing tonight, fantastic racing come up. Any last words, Aidan?
Roll on Mini Coopers. Roll on next week. I can't wait to see it at Goodwood. But yes, be sure to tune in for all the rest of the action for the rest of this week. And if you haven't already, do join our Discord. It's discord.gg/oNiD community racing. Come and say hi on our Discord. Follow us on X as well. It's at oNiD Racing. And be sure to come and find us on SimGrid as well. Join the community, see what we've got going on. It'll be wonderful to see you. And yes, do get involved. You've seen what action we've had tonight. Do come and get involved and come and find out what's going on. We'll be happy to have you.
So until next time, thank you all very much for joining us. Well done, Tim Bob, on your maiden victory this season, and as well to Johan for winning the first two races. We'll see you next time. Till then, take care. Night night.
Go on, Tim.